While we can't control what the U.S. does, we can decide what happens here.
406 pages, $90 billion in net new spending promises, and a $78 billion ballooning deficit. The Carney government releasing its first budget on Tuesday.
The Liberals have introduced the most costly and largest budget deficit in history outside of COVID.
And they'll need support from across the aisle for it to pass and avoid an early election. So what does this fiscal plan mean for you at home? Well, let's dive right into it with our CityTalks panel. Joining me now is Hussein Abigude, Larissa Waller, and Matthew Green, who is joining us virtually. And Hussein, I'm going to start with you. You're a Liberal policy analyst. What grade do you give this budget and why?
Well, I'd give it a 9 out of 10.
A 9, okay.
Yes. The one is just such a high deficit. That's what a lot of folks were complaining about. But this is
$78.3 billion.
Yes, but this is necessary considering the high unemployment we have, the job layoffs that are coming, the unprovoked trade war that we're having with the U.S., the lack of investment. This is a necessary investment that the Canadian government is making. This is the Prime Minister showcasing his vision to Canadians. There's investments in housing, infrastructure, AI, so investments across the board to spur the economic growth that we see.
And we do need to do that given the trade war with Donald Trump right now. I mean, 74% or so of our trade is actually with the U.S., and Canada's now paying a price for it. Larissa, what grade would you give this budget? You're conservative leaning, so I know it's not a 9 out of 10.
It is not. I would give it a 3 out of 10.
3?
If money grew on trees, I'd give it an 8. But money does not grow on trees. And this budget spends too much. It's almost like a progression of the Trudeau era, but it's worse. And since Trudeau became Prime Minister, all through, his various finance ministers right up until right now with Carney and Champagne, they use the term investment for spending. Right? And I'm not saying the stuff they're spending on isn't important, right? NATO is important and manufacturing credits are important, but we can't afford it. So I was using the example earlier, the Liberals split this up into capital budget and operating budget. And then They use the example, if you renovate your house and you're increasing the value of your house, the money that you're putting into your house is going to grow in value. I can't afford marble countertops and a gold sink. And that's what they're doing. They're spending money we don't have. We're going to have a $1.3+ trillion debt on a population of 41 million people. That's unsustainable. And every bureaucrat that sort of measures our economic health has said that we are spending too much money. We can't afford it.
Okay, let's get to Matthew Green. Matthew, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is a failure, but for much different reasons. I think that this budget represents a tax cut for the ultra wealthy, the corporations, and a transfer from the working class to private companies. This is a huge, I think, cut in austerity budget. This is something that would make Stephen Harper blush. And so while it is true there is spending and investments to be had, there's going to be deep cuts to the public services and to the programs, the social programs that everyday Canadians need. So I'm sure that Bay Street is licking their lips right now. Carney's class, the CEO of Canada, I'm sure is very happy with this. But when it comes to it, on the face value of what we've seen in this budget, this is an F and a failure for working class Canadians.
Bottom line, this budget has to pass. It's still a minority government, but now it only needs 2 votes to pass instead of 3 because on the very night of the budget delivery, a Conservative MP walked across the floor, defected, Chris D'Entremont. So how much is this going to hurt? And the Conservatives, do you think, and I suspect, Hussein, there are conversations going on behind the scenes to hopefully woo, from the Liberal perspective, they are hoping to woo another Conservative or 2 over.
Well, this speaks to the lack of leadership in Pierre Poilievre's caucus. The fracture.
Careful, Larissa's starting to see smoke coming out of her ears.
Fracture in his caucus to lose somebody on budget day is a blow to the face, so to speak, in Pierre Poilievre, because it really shows that the Liberals are able to bring somebody to their side and show that they need just one less person or they have one more person ready to support the budget.
Larissa, are there cracks in Pierre Poilievre's leadership showing here?
No, there's no cracks. What I would say about the way that this MP crossed the floor on budget day with such fanfare it was very personal to him to do it. He didn't do it for a policy reason. There is no policy reason. He knew exactly who he was running for. He knew exactly who he was running against. He wasn't chosen deputy speaker, and he never really got over it. And so if he got a way to, rub it in the Conservatives' face, it feels to me very personal how he did it. And that's why I think he did it the way he did it. The people of his riding voted for a Conservative agenda, right? Nothing has changed except that Carney is spending more than he said he was going to spend. When people go to vote, about 80 to 90% of the decision-making to cast that vote depends on the party. We all know that. So for him to say they elected me to represent their best interests, they elected a Conservative government, a Conservative MP. So I sincerely think if he wants to have an ounce of integrity, resign and run as a Liberal.
Okay. If I may, the Speaker election happened close to 6 months ago. So,
and he really never got over it.
Well, I don't know about that, but now, I mean, he's seen the budget, he's seen the approach of the budget, puts confidence in the government, and puts confidence in Mark Carney's vision for the country. If it was just a Speaker issue, he would have, crossed the floor 6 months ago.
I just disagree.
Matthew, what are your thoughts on this? And listen, Carney is still going to need some NDP support, I believe, to pass this budget, and they can't afford an election right now.
Well, what I would say off the bat is I served 6 years with Chris D'Entremont. He's a fine and decent man, and I would say the last of a dying breed of progressive conservatives. So this is the old adage of him not leaving the party left him. He didn't fit the culture of the mean-spirited, demands of Pierre Poilievre. I've watched these people in the House. It's a different party from Scheer to O'Toole to Poilievre, and I think it is a more natural fit for an Atlantic region progressive conservative to be aligned with what I consider to be a red Tory CEO of Canada, Mr. Mark Carney. And so I do think culturally there's a bigger fit there, but it's clear that there's probably some others. So what Canadians need to keep in mind is they're not going to pass this budget this week likely. We're going to have a constituency week the following week, and there's going to be lots of backroom conversations, enticements, promises being made. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was one or two more conservatives who, quite frankly, don't fit this culture of what I would say an extreme types of toxicity within the Conservative caucus. People who've served a long time might find themselves better suited on the other side of the aisle. But as it comes to New Democrats, the Liberals are governing as though they have a majority. They do not have a majority. And unless they're willing to actually reach out and do the work of democracy in Canada, they will find very little support within our caucus.
Except there's no leader for the NDP, and they really don't have a war chest. Larissa, I'm going to have to give the last word to you on some of the things that Matthew Green had to say. He's calling Pierre Poilievre's government toxic, or his leadership toxic. How do you respond to that?
I just fundamentally disagree, right? And I think that...
But let me ask, a lot of people were quite concerned about his comments about the RCMP and Trudeau needing to be jailed. Was this perhaps the final straw for D'Entremont?
You'd have to ask him that. What I'm going to say is that being a conservative and believing in how you govern a country from a conservative perspective, number one, it is being responsible with the finances and spending within our means. And none of that has ever changed from the conservative perspective. We ran on an agenda of bringing forward a budget that we can afford, spending within our means, because when we don't, we do things like spend more on debt servicing, which we will now be doing, than we are on health transfers. So I'm surprised Matt Green isn't throwing his hands up in the air. We're spending more on servicing a debt than we are on health care. And why? Because we've spent beyond our means, and we've done 10 years of spending beyond our means, and this is where we're at now.
Have to end on that note. Thank you all very much for joining. To our wonderful panel, much appreciated, and lots more conversations about this to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.